All right, welcome to another episode of Fandom Thursdays. That's right, I changed the name to Fandom Thursdays instead of Galaxy Thursdays, and that's because Chris wanted to talk about other things besides sci-fi because Rings of Power is on TV right now. It's streaming on Amazon Weekly, so we're doing fantasy and sci-fi, I guess, or anything we deem a fandom we want to talk about. So yeah, we're here to talk the latest episode of Rings of Power, Lower Decks, and then the Andor premiere that dropped yesterday. How are you, Chris?
I am good. I am here, still a little groggy, but I'm breathing, so you know I'm I'm happy about that part. And
Well, it's the first day of autumn, even though as we get later into the day, it's not going to feel like it because I think it's going to be close to 100 degrees today.
yeah, we had that through the weekend, that last little like gut punch of August, like he's dragging by his nails back into the pit of hell, and he doesn't want to go. So we're getting those last couple of days of 90 plus degree heat. But you know what? By Monday, we're going to be back down into the 80s, the mid 80s. And at night, I think Tuesday is going to be a high of 84, which is going to be, I mean, pleasant. And that night, it's going to be like 50, is it 59 degrees? 52, I don't know. It's going to be pretty low. It's going to feel great. I can tell you that. It's going to start feeling like fall like when Monday hits. So I'm excited.
Yep, yep. For people who don't live in Texas or where summer likes to linger, for us, 80 something degrees is like nice because,
Mid 80s it starts to feel like fall. I know that's sad to a lot of people. You're like, "What?" But around here it's relief.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, I'm sure people in the Midwest and the Northeast are like, that's still hot.
Yeah, my little sister lives in Wisconsin, and I think they're already getting like really chilly weather up there, like eat a bowl of chili weather.
Yeah, they're like able to wear hoodies already.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm a little
But yeah,
jelly, but
speaking of August dragging its nails, not to go back to the pits of hell like Sauron himself, I guess let's go ahead and talk Rings of Power.
yeah, I'll do a little run over of Rings of Power, and I tell you what, so far, excuse me, I am absolutely loving it. Um,
So we didn't get the Harfoots this episode. Do you think they're hobbits?
sorry. Yeah, Harfoots are precursors to hobbits. There were three precursor tribes, and one of them was Harfoots. And uh, don't ask me; it's too early. I could probably tell you the other two uh, clans of pre hobbits. But
Okay.
right now I can't. But yes, those are pre hobbits. You can tell they have a lot of the traits that we see in the hobbits of the Jackson era that we're used to, about not going on adventures, staying close knit in a community. Not, I mean, they're now these hobbits migrated, and it was a predatory thing.
Hmm.
I get that. A lot of people are not liking it. They're not liking the design. Like, they're a little more feral, but we have to remember these are precursors to what we get in Peter Jackson's trilogy. So, I'm okay with them looking the way they do and being really feral and hidden away and more kind of like fairies.
Yeah, there is a bit of that, especially like with them like camouflaging themselves and stuff with the wilderness.
Yeah. Like
But
I really like that, I think that's
yeah,
neat.
but the main girl we're following, isn't their last name a name we've heard before? Is it Brandyfoot?
Well, there's Brandy Buck.
Yeah.
And is it Brandy? Is it Brandyfoot? If it's Brandyfoot, it is a combination. There's Proudfeet or Proudfoot,
Yeah.
and there's Brandybucks, and so on, Gamgees, and uh, Sackville Baggins, and there's just so many. So I mean, they either put the two together, uh, kind of early names that they could have bled into different families or whatnot. I don't know, but they're doing a really her and her Samwise esque friend are doing a really good job.
Yeah.
But I think they all are. I think, and we okay. We have the introduction of Isildur and um, Isildur and his father. Man, if it were later in the day, Cody, I could rattle these names off the top of my head. But they are they are seafarers in this, and I know
Hmm.
in lore they come from a line of kings or of royalty. But where I'm thinking they're going with this is we did get a glimpse. Spoiler alerts. I'm sorry. I will try not to go into too much detail, but we did get a dream sequence or a foreshadowing of the sinking of the island of Numenor,
We
and is
did.
Isildur and his father, Ilendil. Ugh. Isildur and Ilendil lead the remaining peoples across the sea into Middle Earth, and that's where they set up the kingdoms of Gondor, and there was a sister kingdom. Um, it'll come to me here probably while we're talking about Star Trek, Cody. But it was it was the sister kingdom that lied across the river, um, Andor, and it was at the gates of Mordor in that region. And now I know you remember it because it's where Sam and Gollum and Frodo go up the steps into Shelob's lair, and there you'll see the castle there. That was a sister castle, and it was at the steps of Mordor, and it kind of kept them at bay. But where was I going with this, Cody? I rambled. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep this short, but anyway, they're gonna lead their peoples over to Middle Earth, and we're gonna get to see that, and I think that's gonna be really cool because we know in the flashbacks, Isildur was killed by Sauron in the prologue, and I mean Ilendil, and Isildur picked up his sword,
Hmm.
which we did get to see Narsil, which was uh,
Yeah, we've been teased that with that community that has fled their homes because of orcs.
yeah, you know, I'm digging that storyline too. There's lots of storylines and lots of I mean, I know it's really dialogue-y. That's where people are complaining, but I mean, have you seen the extended versions of the Lord of the Rings trilogy? I
Have
mean, it's
you read a Lord of the Rings book?
like I don't think they're going to leave us high and dry. I think they're going to build up to something really awesome, and we're going to get to see a battle. Or I'm thinking we're going to get a Helm's Deep situation with the people who fled to the Elf Watchtower, and they're going to have to fend off um, that group of orcs and all the pre orcs and their father Ada, which if I remember correctly, I think he's the I don't know. There's theories that he may be Sauron, but I don't know. We'll see about that. Sorry, Cody, I rambled. But I
No, it's
personally,
fine. But
as a Tolkien fan, I am absolutely loving this show. Like it's gorgeous. Some of the shots are straight out of Alan Lee and John Howe's drawings, and it's just beautiful, beautiful stuff. And um, I'm loving it. I'm loving the Disa and Durin
Oh,
character,
that
the
stuff is
dwarves.
great. I love them and their whole dynamic.
Oh yeah, yeah, and the Silmaril, and I guarantee you they're gonna wake up. They're gonna dig too deep, looking for uh
The
the Sil is it Silmaril? It's
aren't
the
they?
it's the metal that remember when Thorin gave Bilbo
Yeah, the
that
elves call it
chainmail.
Mithril, right?
Mithril, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cody. And he was like that one shirt is worth more than the whole of the Shire. Like it was extremely like expensive metal. But but yeah, I bet you they're gonna it's gonna be a cliffhanger at the end of the season. But I hope we get
Oh,
to see it. I know they're gonna dig too deep and they're gonna wake up the Balrog, and that's the Balrog we're gonna see. I think that Gandalf takes on
right, in Fellowship.
in
Uh,
Fellowship.
we also got a tease of I forget what the artifact is called, but you know the orb from the trilogy that Gandalf takes from Saruman, which I guess there was more than one.
Oh, the Palantir,
Yeah,
the Seeing Stone. Yeah, if I remember correctly, it was there's either seven or there's nine.
which I
And
thought was interesting because that's how the Queen Regent shows Gladriel like the impending doom coming.
right, well, most of them were lost. And at first, I was kind of thinking that's what the dwarves had found. Maybe like they were digging and they found one of them or something like that. But it makes more sense to be Mithril, um, But um,
Oh, I also love that's what Durin is mad about Elrod for. Not that he's an elf or anything. It's like, oh, dude, you hadn't seen me in 20 years and I got married and had a family. Where you been?
yeah, I mean they have long lives, but nothing like the elves. And like you
Yeah,
said, 20 years is a blink of an eye for you. Like that's just like a week. It doesn't bother you. But to me, it's a whole, half of a lifetime.
yeah.
But
But yeah, this show is really good. I think it's doing a good job of being in the universe, but not being like, hey, Lord of the Rings guys, you remember?
yeah, I think it's its own thing, and I enjoy it. You get hints of Jackson's trilogy, even though they weren't direct. I heard they ghosted Jackson, so I'm kind of it's Amazon. As much as I hate Amazon and the whole principle behind it, this show is a gift. I hate being like that. I hate rooting for the corporate
Well,
devil here,
look, a
but
lot of these there's two shows we're talking about that are ran by corporate huge giant conglomerates that just want to swallow everything up, and part of that is giving entertainment. And
oh, I know it.
yeah, it's terrible that they're monopolizing things, and Amazon may be worse than Disney. uh,
Right.
but it's a good show, and I can see where they spent the money on it. But maybe pay your workers part of that fee.
Exactly. But
But
I recommend it as a fan, like of all six films and his writings. I don't know. I'm just happy to see some really good fantasy on TV.
exactly, it's high quality fantasy television, and if you're a fan of the series, either the films or the books, I think there's something in here for you to like. And if you have a problem with made up creatures being a different color than yourself, then it's probably you, not the show.
Oh yeah, they're becoming. Those fans are becoming. I'm not. I don't. I'm not even gonna call them fans. Those trolls are becoming just as bad as the Star Wars and the Star Trek trolls who have issues with Ariel and you know all the all these made up characters. So yeah, they can stick it.
Yep. Is there anything else you want to talk about for Rings of
No,
Power? All
no,
right.
catch it every Friday. It's I highly recommend it.
Yep. They drop. Every episode drops on Friday, and they're pretty long. They're a little over an hour usually, but you know,
Yeah, it's a mini movie, and I that's what I love. It's not 30 minutes. You get a fleshed out, well done,
but
mini
of the
movie.
two high
That-
profile fantasy series out right now on a weekly basis, this is the better one to be watching.
Yeah, again, it doesn't. I like action and violence and a little romance in my fantasy, but it doesn't have to roll as hard as it does in the J.R.R. Martin series. Like, I'm not saying they're not decent, like the first couple of seasons were pretty good of Game of Thrones. I have not seen any House of the Dragon, and I really don't have any desire to. I'll probably get around to it since I finished Game of Thrones, but yeah, I agree with you, Cody. Without even having seen House of the Dragon, but just clips and articles and stuff, this one looks like the much better choice.
Of the two, I don't hate House of Dragon so far, but if you told me which one someone should start watching, I would recommend Rings of Power.
Right, right.
But
And I'm not knocking Game of Thrones. Like if that's your bag, I get it.
I
Go for it.
I would
So
still say it's the only adaptation, excluding the final season, that is up there with the Peter Jackson trilogy of quality with production and everything.
oh yeah. And like I said, I really enjoyed probably up until the last season of Game of Thrones. And you're right. I mean, quality and what they spent, and that yeah, as disappointing as the storylines were getting wrapped up, especially with the Night King and that because that battle was so great. That battle of Winterfell was just awesome, but that whole Night King thing, I don't know, man. They kind of botched it.
Yeah, yeah, and they got into fan theories and yeah. Um, what was my thought though? It is a bygone era though. Game of Thrones was the last TV show that the entire world nation was watching all at the same time.
I remember that phenomenon. It was like it's HBO. If you look at all their major series, look at The Sopranos. The world was doing the same thing. It was a huge
Yeah, but I
cultural phenomenon, and
don't
then
think that's not happening anymore because most of everything people watch is streaming. There are some network and cable shows people are watching, but most people are just kind of watching what they want to watch, getting into what they want to get to. So everyone's sort of watching different things at different times now.
right,
There's not that show that like everyone's like, "Whoa, did you watch this last night?"
right. Well, and
But
that came out right before everything. Like we started having every episode in a season drop.
Right. Game of Thrones started in 11. I believe Netflix aired its first couple of shows in 2013.
Yeah.
So,
So
so that's kind of where it started. I know people were already like at this point, most people already had a Netflix subscription and were like watching older shows, like, on there and binging or catching up on things.
mhm.
But yeah, that's kind of where it started. But interesting that most of these other streamers do weekly, which I kind of like. I kind of like because then it like requires you to like come back and watch it,
Yeah,
or you don't get it all in like a weekend, right? You don't watch it all in one weekend. You're like, okay, I got time to like
yeah,
finish
it
this
there's something
episode.
nostalgic about it. Episodic weekly episodes. And I
And
like it
also
too
when there's
because
a
it
cliffhanger, like you got to be like, "Oh crap, what's going to happen?" Cuz like if you could just go to the next episode, you're not even in anticipation. You're just like, "All right, what's going to happen now?"
right? Yeah, I miss catching a cliffhanger and then having to wait uh and then having to wait, an entire 6 months in between a season or until the next week,
Yeah.
before you can see what happens.
Well, let's go ahead and get into Lower Decks then.
Yeah, yeah, another brilliant show, I think.
Oh, I
Uh,
think I think it's absolutely hilarious. I said it last week. I'll say it again. I think this is a series that's a good entry point for anybody who's wanting to dip their toes into Star Trek. I, I think because you don't have to know all the references and everything. It's enough there to give you a taste, and
right. But
and if
oh,
you
are there
want to explore
references
more, you
galore?
can, but you don't have to. This could just be your show because it's funny and silly. Which, we got two plots going on. We got Mariner and Boimler stuck at, like, I guess, some sort of, like, festival or something and setting up a booth for Starfleet. Um,
Yeah, I thought it was great because it's like a college career day because
yeah,
it's,
it's
it's
like a
all the
college
guilds.
career day, and they got a little recruitment booth, but, then they're also making like even though it's a futuristic show, like there's some jokes in there, like they're making fun of like what's going on in our society right now, like with those conspiracy theorist people.
Oh man, that was hilarious. And the episode they're referencing, right, from TNG, where those aliens had taken over the Admiralty and
Yeah.
they like it was banned. The episode was banned in several places because it was like really gory and um but the butt bugs, and I laughed. I thought I died, man. That was hilarious. That was great. Yeah, and you're right. They're just conspiracy theorists. And why don't you tell us what happened to Cisco? And she's like, well, he went to work in the Celestial Temple, and they're like, yeah, sure. It's just so many. Oh man, it was great. But yeah,
Yeah.
just so many. And then the Grand Nagus came and like,
Yeah, so was that little side character that was like, is that supposed to be like a nod to the reoccurring character that was on Next Gen and she showed up in that episode of Deep Space Nine?
are you talking about Ensign Rowe?
Yeah.
Yeah, where she was kind of real rebellious and um, I think so, and I think that
It's
she's going to
like
be
a
there.
River Song before River Song.
Yeah, she's going to tempt what's her name, and there'll be a story arc. I guarantee you it'll be the season finale. I'm calling it where she leaves Starfleet and goes to join her to do something, and it might just be for the season finale, and then she'll come back, next
Yeah.
season. But I don't know. Because they gave lots of nods. She didn't erase her contact, and then when she warped away, she kind of gave this look like maybe she's right. So I don't know. I think she's there. She was put there as a temptation to leave um,
Yeah. And it's kind
Starfleet.
of funny because she's like on special watch with Commander Ransom, and he's like, "I'm going to banish you if you don't do your job." And Boimler's the one that loses control.
Yeah, I thought that was great. That alien came up and like, if he was Starfleet, and she was, yeah. She goes, man, uh, he just told the Ferengis, and they just bleeped out that. Which I hope we get the unbleeped version released. I think they did that on the. Didn't they do that on the Blu-ray where you can? They have the unbleeped version of the
Probably, I
show.
would imagine.
Yeah,
And
I
then we
mean,
got Ransom subplot where we find out a little bit about his backstory, and also like I guess he's having inner turmoil with his younger self in his mind.
I thought that was great because it was like the evil Riker
Right.
episode, um, where there's lots of inner turmoil, and it's gonna. I wonder if they. I wonder if that secret that he's hiding or that was erased has to. I wonder if they'll bring in Section 31. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, that would be if they do that. Yeah, that would be cool if that was the subplot of what's going on with him.
Yeah, that would be pretty neat. But yeah, man, I think they're killing it, dude. They
But
are.
I thought it was an interesting, like, not just about like what's going on with the subplots and his backstory, but I thought it was an interesting parallel to be like, you know what, like sometimes your older mature self is better because you've learned, you've experienced, and you know you if you grow and mature as you age with your life and your experiences, like you become a more intelligent and understanding person, and like you're more
Right.
tolerant, and like you value someone else's opinion besides yourself, your own.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was like a good parallel to be like, yeah, however you were when you were like a teenager or your early 20s, like yeah, it's okay
To let it go.
to let it go, and like
Damn Star Trek sneaking those life lessons in there.
which Star Trek fans you could learn from. Like, yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Let it go, dude. Like back in your 20s, it was still not okay to rip apart a movie, but we were all doing it. But as we've gotten older, it's okay to stop doing that and to let people
let people
watch.
enjoy things.
Yeah.
So I've only watched one episode each this week of Next Gen and Deep Space. The Next Gen episode I watched, the Enterprise got infected with a virus, and only Dr. Crusher was the only person not affected by it.
Ah. Yes. And um, Wesley hijacks the ship, or am I thinking of something different?
You're thinking of another episode because this one is the subplot. That's the subplot. The main plot is they're supposed to be getting to the neutral zone to deal with the Romulans, but they found a planet where a group of Starfleet people, they may not be Starfleet, but they have something to do. They crashed on this planet. They've been there for 7 years. It's ran by women, Riker, Troy, and yeah.
Rocco's like, I got this, everyone.
Well,
I'm
there
good at
there
first
is a scene
contact.
with Riker and the leader about to get down, and then they keep getting
Mm-mm.
interrupted.
Damn.
But yeah, like, and Riker has to convince them not to execute these people because one of the inhabitants has started a revolution because of their politics. And first, they're supposed to rescue him, but they don't want to be rescued. Like, they don't want to leave the planet, and like, so there's all the Star Trekky debate stuff going on.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
But like, yeah, it's getting like this section of season one is a lot better than the first
Yeah,
eight
they
or
started
nine
finding their
episodes.
footing, and like it was either into the third season, Gene died, and he was getting sicker before that. So more of the writing and the control went to other people who started exploring more, and that's where we get Ronald D. Moore, who went on to do BSG, um, he Ronald D. Moore is uh, responsible for a lot of the later stuff of DS9, uh, which is just brilliant stuff too. So
Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't he like working in the mailroom or like an aide, and he just happened to like pitch a screenplay or get a screenplay in someone's hands and they liked it?
I think so. It was like a fan story. It was like, yeah, I was just doing my own thing,
And,
and
and he became a writer on the show,
yeah, worked his way up,
which is wild.
and yeah, it is.
And then I'm trying to remember what is. Oh, the Deep Space Nine episode I watched. There's this alien that boards the ship. He murders another alien in a some kind of deal with Quark gone bad, and Odo has to personally send him back to his planet. But the surviving alien's trying to murder him, and he just wants to get his daughter back. And Odo lets them hop on board with the Vulcans instead of turning him in to his people,
Okay. Yeah, I remember that one.
which is a nice episode. I guess it's mostly Odo centric.
Yeah, yeah, they they both really do like it's like every season of Star Trek, I think, except for Stranger Worlds and Lower Decks being exceptions, but every first season they're going to be rocky. They're going to have those like what the heck episodes, or like man, this is really weird, even for Star Trek, or wow, this is silly and laughable. But then they find their footing, and they get better and better and better. They have some really classic stuff in there.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's nice going back and kind of watching all of them instead of just seeing pieces of them when they were on, because I never watched them all from beginning to end. It was just kind of, oh, this one's on TV, which was
Right.
fine because most of them are standalone episodes. It's not like, oh, I gotta, oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, that's why I like Stranger Worlds, is because they went back to episodic TV. There's an underlying story
You're right,
that
which was what TV basically, well, what TV kind of became in the 80s and 90s and even early 2000s up until uh I would say up until around Sopranos era, and then especially with the streaming era, that's what
right.
TV was. It was like there was an overall like story arc for the season, but overall like there was mostly standalone episodes. Like
Yeah.
something like the X-Files or Buffy, there was always like that overlying arc for the season, but there was like at least 10 to 12, half the season were standalones,
Right.
if not more.
I'm even seeing that in Moonlighting. Like I watched an episode last night, and I just noticed that. I was like, oh well, there's a central underlying plot, and then everything's episodic, and that made me think about that last night. So.
Yeah. But do you have anything else about Star Trek in general or Lower Decks before I tell you about Andor?
Um, No, go ahead. Let's move on to Andor. Again, Star Trek is great, and you know, I'm uh, I'm enjoying it, and you should too.
Yeah, and I definitely, if you are brand new to Trek, I think Lower Decks is probably a good entryway for you.
Right.
So Andor, when I heard this show was announced, I was like, why are they doing this? Who cares about this one-off character in a movie, that we know the outcome to? So I was like, okay, whatever, I'll give it a try. It's pretty interesting so far, and I'll tell you why. It's what we talked about last week. It is a Star Wars show, doesn't deal with Jedi or Sith, doesn't deal with any legacy characters really at all. Like it's just in the universe. And I like that it's showing like that the rebellion, and they have discussed this in the Disney era with the sequels and the other movies. Like, the rebellion is not innocent. Like they are just as guilty of doing atrocious things too. Like, you know, Granted,
Right.
maybe granted maybe there's just their actions justify the means or whatever, but still they're doing things almost as bad, if not as bad as the Empire sometimes.
There's a good parallel, and I'm going to jump back to Star Trek here with this real quick, Cody. There is a DS9 episode that takes place in the Dominion War, and the beginning and the end of the episode is really cool, and it's regarded as one of the best DS9 episodes ever. But it's Cisco. He's kind of breaking the fourth wall, and he's talking to his computer. He's recording his log, but he's talking to the camera. And I thought, for one, that's really cool, and two, the whole episode is him talking about having to sink beneath his own standards or beneath Starfleet standards in a time of war, and if it made him regret anything or feel guilty. And I'll let you find that out for yourself, because it is just such an excellent episode. But I do like the parallel here, is we get to see that, like you said, in Star Wars, and it's not you're not dealing with Jedi or the Force or any Force users or anything like that. The mystical side of it, you're seeing the dirty, nitty gritty uh, underbelly of war, and the what the rebellion had to sink to.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this, like, it's not inappropriate because it's on Disney Plus, so kids could watch this, but this might be the first Star Wars series that's for adults. Like,
Oh
because
yeah, you
it
know,
does get nitty-gritty, and I mean, its subject and its themes are probably things that a lot of kids are not gonna be interested in because these 3 episodes are a slow burn. So, basically, Andor's on a planet. He's looking for, because we get a little bit of his backstory of, like, where he came from and stuff, and how he kinda, because he's a thief right now, like, at the end of episode 3, I think he kinda gets recruited to join the rebellion.
yeah, yeah. He's already now. Okay, I'm sorry. Who are you talking about now?
I'm
Who
talking
did
about,
you mention?
Cassian Andor.
Cassian Andor. Yeah, in Rogue One, he's already in.
Yeah, well, this is, of course, we know it predates Rogue One because, what
Right.
happens at the end of Rogue One. So yeah, he's looking for his sister, who I
Hmm.
guess is missing, and he's found information on her. And two Imperial guards kind of are giving him the look and stuff at this club or wherever he's at, because she was working as like a basically a uh not a prostitute. What do they call those? Like when you pay for someone to hang out with
Escort.
you, an escort. Yes.
Yeah.
and they're giving him a hard time after he leaves, and he ends up murdering them. So now he's kind of under suspicion with the Empire,
Uh huh.
and you're getting like ties to people that he works with that are working with the rebellion and stuff, and him trying to elude the Empire. And Stellan Skarsgård plays a guy in the rebellion who kind of recruits him. So these 3 episodes are kind of build up to the series. So I can see why some people aren't digging it, because it is a slow burn. Like a lot of spy thrillers, they're slow burns. I mean, the guy who's working on this show also, like shadow directed Rogue One, and I believe wrote the Jason Bourne movies. So,
Ah, okay, yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. But
But
go ahead, go ahead.
another thing, while this is probably more geared towards adult, they don't show anything, but there is like an after effect. There is a female character um who kind of is an ally, and she's undercover or something with the rebellion, but she runs
Okay,
like a repair, like an auto shop, but it's Star Wars. So
right, right.
I believe her name is, I'm gonna look it up because these are all new character. Bix. There's a guy that works with her that they sort of have a thing. I could be wrong, but I think this is the first time in the Star Wars universe in film or television that they actually are like, oh yeah, these two people had sex.
Oh, wow, okay.
It, like, there's no sex scene or anything. Like, it just shows the next morning and she's getting out of bed and getting dressed and he's already up. But like, we know people in Star Wars, and not that that's needed. I'm just saying, like, oh,
Well,
that's
actually,
never happened before, even though we know that has happened in Star
no,
Wars.
I think that happened in episode 3 where it shows Padme cuddling Anakin, or he's laying in bed, but he gets up out of bed, and then she sees him standing there. Isn't that implied that because they do end up having the twins later?
I thought
Wouldn't that
she's
imply?
already pregnant though in Revenge of the Sith.
Is that when that? Yeah, that is when that happened.
Yeah,
Okay,
look, it's not something that's needed. I was just shocked. I was like, oh, like, okay. They're like
right, right,
acknowledging
right.
like people still get busy in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah,
Which we know they do, because but like, that's why I'm saying like, oh, okay, this show is a little bit more adult skewed than even like their other shows that they've done so far.
nice.
And
It looked really good. Like again, I like this aspect of Star Wars, getting to see this part of it.
also, this thing is chock full of recognizable British character actors too. Like,
Nice.
I don't even know some of these people's names, and I'll be like, "Where have I seen this person?" So, like, uh, Aunt Petunia from Harry Potter's in here, and there was another guy. He's only in one episode, and I was like, "I know I've seen this guy before," and I hate when that happens, because then I gotta look and see where I've seen them before. And it was like a guy he was in a Doctor Who episode. I was like, oh,
Huh, that's cool. I did that
yeah,
with we just finished Band of Brothers, and I was like, man, every British actor is in this, and I was like, yeah, oh, that's right, because they filmed it in Britain, and so everybody's popping up in this, and I guarantee you, if they filmed it in Elstree studio or over there in where they filmed or where they do film a lot of Star Wars, then they probably have tons of British extras and actors in it.
of course. But I recommend it. It's worth watching. I'm excited to see where it goes. But yeah, they are a bit of a slow burn, these first 3 episodes. A lot of dialogue, a lot
Right.
of but there's some pretty good action near the end of episode 3. But yeah, it's a spy show, so if that's not your bag, then you're probably not going to like this. But I'm excited that's where Star Wars is right now, and I think that's where Star Wars should be is with television. I'm okay if they don't do any more Star Wars movies, honestly.
For sure, I'm good. I think the sagas have ended. Um, and you're right. I think we get more out of TV, and I think Star Trek is the same way. I think they need to be done with movies, and I think these franchises are both best left on. I want to say small screen, but everybody pretty much has a larger flat screen TV these days. So, whatever you're watching it on, I think that's where it's best left at.
Uh, And I just want to say, it's like, as much as the film nerd side of me is kind of disappointed that, like, all this stuff I love is kind of saturated and, like, kind of killed, like, regular movies. It's a really good time to be a nerdy, geeky person.
Oh, it is. I was
I mean, we are over, we're getting quality stuff that we all begged for as when we were younger, right? Like it's here.
Yeah. I remember when first getting married to Lindsay, and around the time we shut the comic book shop down, and that was in like the first season or half season of first two seasons of Big Bang Theory, and nerddom hadn't exploded like it is now, and it's crazy seeing where it's gone from just 13, 14 years ago to where it is now is just insane.
Yeah, and I think that show and I think Iron Man really did it.
Oh yeah, yeah, I can see that because again when we bought the comic book shop, we I was like, the first thing I want to do is we're in an era we're starting to see more and more comic book movies. Like we've got 30 Days of Night that I can promote. We've got Iron Man that we can promote. We've got the Hulk movie that just came out that we can promote, and a lot of people did come in because of the movies and was like, "Hey, I saw Iron Man and I want to check out the books." I saw the Hulk. 30 Days of Night was rad. I want to read the graphic novel. And it was because of the content that was coming out. And we had people like, "Oh man, I really love this show. My girlfriend loves this show, Battlestar Galactica or Big Bang Theory." And we saw this on Big Bang Theory. Do you have it? So yeah, I mean, we can credit that stuff for where we're at.
All right. I guess that's all we got for this week because there wasn't a lot of news because that was all last week.
Yeah.
So yeah, this week was just the new episodes. New Rings of Power tomorrow, and then Andor Wednesdays, and Star Trek Lower Decks Thursday. I guess Thursday is Star Trek Day now.
Yeah, yeah. And since we're in a horror movie, getting the spooky movie season, I saw a trailer for a Netflix movie that's coming out.
Are you talking about?
And
I think it's a series actually. If you're talking about the Midnight Club.
no, not that. This is a subject matter that I find really terrifying, and it is based on a true story because I remember seeing it when I was younger on the news. Like I remember my parents watching this. Oprah had a special on it. You know, Nightline 2020 had a Dateline 2020 had a special on. Everybody was doing Inside Edition, but it's called Dahmer, and it's about Jeffrey Dahmer, and it looks
Oh, okay.
absolutely terrifying because it's gross and it's based on real events, and that should to me
Yeah.
that's the really chilling stuff. And I was like, this looks really disturbing. I'm gonna watch it because it's spooky season, so I'm gonna check that out at
Okay.
some point.
Cool.
But
Gotcha.
um, but yeah, it looks interesting. So if you're into that, the true crime uh kind of stuff, which I'm not really, but that just again, it's spooky movie season, and that whole subject is still terrifies me as an adult. So I'm gonna go for it.
Well, anytime we find out someone is capable of doing something like that, that's terrifying.
Yeah,
So,
and it doesn't help. I watched the Dateline interview.
oh
After
wow.
watching that trailer, Lindsay was like, "Well, what's that? Or who is that?" I mean, she kind of vaguely knew. And I was on YouTube, and right next to it was the Dateline interview, and I was like, "Okay, here's the dude." And just the way he talked about it nonchalantly, and just it was creepy. So I was like, "Yeah, that's it." And she's like, I'm not doing that." And I was like, "I'm going to. I'm going to watch it."
Well, I think that's all I got for the shows today. Thanks for being able to come on again and nerd out with me.
Yeah, man. As always, that's what I'm here for. I love it. So
Our show we do video store rejects, or we got a busy weekend. Um, for spooky season, we're going to be talking Peter Jackson's The Frighteners and Sam Raimi's Drag Me to Hell.
nice, nice. And that is what day is that?
That's tomorrow,
Tomorrow at
7 p.m.
7 o'clock. All right,
Okay.
sweet.
And then I'm getting Jacob to come in and finally do our True Lies episode. Avatar is being re released in theaters this weekend. Probably to prep people to know that there's another Avatar movie coming out. I suspect that's why it's getting re-released to try and,
Right, right. I think it's silly. Like the moviegoer in me was like, "Oh, well, that's cool." I mean, I remember Lindsay and I watched that when she worked at the theater when we first got together, and um, again, it was a big dumb popcorn filler movie for me. So I enjoy the big blue bright colors. I'll sit there and drool at it, but I wouldn't mind seeing it in theater. But I don't want to pay for it.
no, I'm
I
not gonna go see it again. It is a
I don't.
little silly, but I think because it's been so long and because it's one of those blockbusters that hasn't really stayed in the pop culture lexicon, I think,
Right.
I think Disney is a little worried they're not gonna get their money back, but
Oh, they probably are.
they
And like
probably are. I mean, I don't know, like, every time someone thinks Cameron's gonna crash and burn, he usually ends up, like, coming out of that pile of crap smelling like roses.
yeah.
And then we're doing 2 Coen Brothers episodes, and that's because I had to reschedule because I was sick, and this was the weekend they both could do it on. So,
Right. I
there
think
you
I
go.
think I'm gonna miss one of those, but I will
That's
be
the
there
serious
Sunday.
man, because we're doing that Saturday morning and then True Grit Sunday morning.
Yeah, I'll definitely be here for True Grit because I love that movie.
So
It's a
yeah, but
gorgeous western.
I do recommend you check out A Serious Man. It's a more of a comedy, but it's very existential and uh a little dark and might be one of the most Cohen's, but
Huh,
I don't know. It's a weird film of theirs, but it's probably one of their more required ones to watch.
nice.
But I will see you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day that you have off.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gearing up for that route tomorrow. It's like going in to do 2 days worth of work. It feels like by the end of the day, but it's worth it and enjoy it.
All right. Well, I will
So,
see you tomorrow, and I look forward to talking about all three movies that we'll be talking about tomorrow. They're all good.
all right, man.
Not a stinker out of one of them.
Yeah.
All right. And anyone else, thanks for watching. If you like, subscribe. And if you want to leave comments or have us talk about specific things dealing with any of these fandoms or episodes, let us know. And just be kind to one another.